conversation in our Be Academics Forum. And so now we are moving to the collaborative practice-oriented experiences. I'll be moderating this section, and I'm really happy to introduce the first experience, this time located in Kenya. So with that with us, Jane Waiyaki Maina. I don't know if that's okay. She's head of the Sustainability and Citizenship Agenda at the Absa Bank Kenya PLC. She also serves at the Kenya Green Building Society Volunteer Board in the Advocacy Committee, and she's a member of the Shared Value Africa Initiative Kenya Working Group. So thank you so much, Jane, for being here. We have also with us Lucy Muigai. Is that okay? Yeah. She's the head of operations at BLAB East Africa and also assists in creating awareness of the impact management and measurement tools that BLAB offers to enhance sustainable business practices. Thank you, Lucy, for being here. And we have also Mumbi Washira. I already introduced her as a member of our Global Engagement Committee. Thank you so much, Mumbi, to organize this presentation with Jane and Lucy, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Veronica, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody from wherever it is you are joining. So I'm very happy to be talking today about a collaboration that we have had between the three of us from our organizations. And this is a very unique program in our context. What it is that it's a training program for Absa's network of suppliers. And what the training program touches on is on really how they can embed sustainability strategies in an easy way. So I'll just go very quickly to my presentation. It's quite simple. And then I will invite Jane and Lucy to also weigh in. So this is an overall look at the program. I should say, and I think Jane will talk a little bit about it because she inspired this process. It was really co-created with Absa Bank. So our university and Absa came together and we said, you know what, if we are to create a sustainability program for a typical SME working in Kenya, what do we need to really put here? Okay, so we have to first understand, yes, these concepts are universal, but we really have to make them relevant given our context. So we created the program. There are 5 modules. It is an entirely online program. We had to become sort of presenters and learn how to record ourselves, which was really interesting. Involved a bit of acting. And of course, we've added a lot of materials and assignments within the various modules. We also had to co-opt various faculty members to participate in facilitating these modules. And, I will mention a little bit about their contribution as well. So the very first module is really an overview, just giving them really the introductory ideas. What is sustainability? What's sustainable development? What are these global challenges we're facing? And then now the local ones. And what I really like about this first one is that the faculty member, who is Professor Maglade, who created this, she used several very urgent and I would say contextually relevant examples to show the urgency of why businesses need to respond. So talking about the drought that we are experiencing, how that has been becoming worse over time, the threat to food security, and using several examples that we have seen in the recent past, people get it very quickly, why this then is important. Now, once they have that foundation, I then come in the second module and talk a little bit about the role businesses play in sustainability. And here is where we really talk about the business case. What are the benefits? Because as we all know, SMEs are constrained. Even today, the United Nations Global Compact was launching the Africa strategy. And the focus was on SMEs, and the issues there, they're the ones which we know. Someone is asking, okay, I understand this is important, but why is it my responsibility? I have very limited resources and capacity. How can I make this make sense from a business perspective? So when we were crafting this session, and Jane really came in here in a very big way, we realized it's important for them, apart from understanding what the business case is, to really appreciate, what are the frameworks that they can use for embedding these development goals. So we talk about shared value by Porter and Creamer as one of the things they can think about. We talk about the United Nations Global Compact, because we do see, again, a way in which they could easily participate in the compact ideals and in the principles set out. And then we also give them different ideas. Maybe there's a tool that the UN has for how, organizations can align themselves to the SDGs, but it's really at a very high level in module 2. Then in the third one, we have Rosemary Okello, who is a marketing expert really, and in communications as well. And she tells them a lot about how are you going to talk about this in a way that makes sense? Because why this is really important is not just because these issues tend to be housed in the marketing section, if it is there, but also that here you find that you really have to get people to buy in. We do hear and learn a lot about the international conferences happening, but for the vast majority of people, a typical Kenyan, you may find that they see it as, just something that is discussed elsewhere. But you really have to make, these universal ideas, as I was saying, you have to make people understand how they are going to communicate it in a way that other people within their organization will understand and see the value in. Then in the next session, we talk really about what the opportunities are. What are some of the approaches they can use? What are some of the challenges that they could really see? And this one is facilitated by another faculty member, Martin Bayer. Then the final session, and Lucy is here and she'll talk about it, is really B-Lab coming in and talking about the tools that they have to help businesses embed sustainability and to track that over time. The SDG Accelerator, the impact tool as well. So we do this, so they go through the program online. However, we also incorporate live sessions after they've gone through the program. What does this mean? It means that for each of the modules, they have a 1-hour session with each of the faculty going through the materials again in a different, sort of presentation. And if there were concepts that were unclear, they also tend to be addressed in those webinars. Then we have the internship program. So we realized that once people are done with the training, there's still the issue of, okay, what next? So we then just very recently, again, working closely with ABSA and our own students who are within the business school doing their Bachelor of Commerce degree, we decided that, look, we can take them through the same program and then assign these students to the supplier so that the student can help the supplier to craft a sustainability strategy, of course, with the oversight of the faculty and ABSA who have been involved with this program from the beginning. So before I bring you to really talk about, the motivation for why ABSA felt this was a really important step, I'd like to say that what have been our experiences so far. So the webinar sessions, I think, are quite useful because I've noticed they tend to catch a lot of, parts that have not been clear from the onset, and it helps people it pushes people to finish up the program, because if you just leave it open and it's online, then people will say, I can get to it, I'll get to this eventually. But once the webinar sessions are scheduled, then people do finish the modules. There's a WhatsApp group and that supports peer learning. I've observed it quite a bit. It also connects participants to faculty. So yes, they do have our contact information. They have our phone numbers and our emails, but it's very good on the WhatsApp group because sometimes discussions happen there and people are like, Mumbi, what did you mean when you said this? So I can quickly, pick up things there and notice certain trends and even address them later in the webinar sessions. ABSA and the university work very closely together as well to facilitate a graduation ceremony, actually for the last cohort. So far we've had about 3 cohorts. We're just finishing on one, the 3rd one right now, of about, between 50 and really even 90 people, yeah? So we actually have a graduation ceremony, and the very last one we had, we even, using ABSA's facilities, televised it, in a way and made it very special for them. And what I have found in my view is when we do this, people really feel that, yeah, I've really done something, and now I really need to push it forward in a way that is meaningful. So it does help to build that ownership and that, increasing importance that we want to imbue on people, that this really counts and you really now need to start aligning your business based on what you've learned. And then the internship program, of course, just observing now from my perspective as an educator is that it really helps us, with just giving people not only the work experience, but even for our own students to already start understanding how sustainability applies in a practical business sense. They learn it theoretically, but now this is a challenge where they really have to think very creatively, even if we are giving them oversight. So I'd like to pause here and then invite Jane to come in and just give her views on, the motivation for the program and, how it all began really.
Thank you, Mumbi, and hello to everyone, and we all across different continents. Thank you, Mumbi, for just articulating the whole process and the program that we've been running. And just back to your question on why it was important for ABSA, I think as a corporate, and when we kicked off on this sustainability journey, so first, my personal experience, it was a bit overwhelming. There's a lot of information, a lot of frameworks, a lot of theoretical stuff, and you're not quite sure how to translate that into a business. And so just based on that experience, I thought it would be quite important to be able to add value to SMEs, mainly because you'll find most corporates either can be able to outsource this to a big organization, a KPMG, and tell them, come help us through this. But then looking back at SMEs and how they are able to convert that information into a strategy and be able to impact based on whichever sector they are in. So that's one. Secondly, as an organization, as we chose the path of being a sustainable organization, I think it's quite critical to move along with everyone within your value chain, because then it's very easy to internally be sustainable, but the impact is much more within your value chain. So first, starting with our suppliers, secondly, going on to our customers, because we are a financial institution in the business of lending. So the next part is also looking at how we transform the value chain from a customer-based perspective. And then thirdly, I think it's a matter of affordability. The reality is, when I did the first course on sustainability, they have an executive program, it was about $1,000. And looking at the SMEs, how many of them can be able to afford that? And especially the COVID situation hasn't helped. So being a corporate, and we work very closely with Strathmore Business School, and being able to have economies of scale, because then we would bring all our suppliers, which is a big number, but be able to subsidize that cost as well. So I think as Strathmore Business School also really came to the table to subsidize a lot of the costs. And instead of now offering the cost at $1,000, we're able to offer it at just $50 And so much more suppliers within the value chain are able to do it without constraint to their cost, and they're able to have multiple employees within their organizations also do it. So looking at our procurement budget and how we spend it and where we spend it also becomes quite critical in our sustainability journey. Looking at if we are spending, give or take, about 7 billion Kenya shillings within our procurement annually, then the question for us was, how much value can we be able to add, given that we are offering jobs to these suppliers, we are paying them, but is that trickling down to their employees in terms of the human rights aspect, in terms of labor practices, in terms of the impact they have within the organization? Because that's one of the things which is really critical for us at ABSA, shared value, and just helping the suppliers, who are essentially SMEs in their own right, look at how they are integrating sustainability as part of their core business and not as a peripheral. Because what we realized when we were starting these sessions, when we asked them about sustainability, a lot of them told us about a lot of the CSR activities that they do, but it's not at the core of their strategy. It's not at the core of what they do as an organization. So it's something they do at their additional extra time. So I think this has helped us to be able to learn quite a bit, even as we transition this journey now from our suppliers into the our SMEs, and eventually working with our corporates as well to just check out how they're implementing sustainability, and that will be through finance and how we are advancing that conversation through sustainable finance. So I think, Mumbi, back to your question, a lot those are the main things which were quite important for us at ABSA, and that's why we chose to start with the suppliers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jane. I'd also like to bring in Lucy to give the perspective of B-Lab East Africa, because you really saved us with those tools, making it very practical, I think, for the suppliers to understand how to apply some of the ideas. So if you could just give us a quick overview of your experiences with even facilitating the live sessions and the feedback that has been shared so far about the tools, that would be really great.
Thank you, Mumbi. Thank you, Jane. Hello, everyone, from wherever you are. My name is Lucy Muigai, as Mumbi had said. I'm the head of operations at B-Lab East Africa. So one of our main strategies here at B-Lab in Africa is to actually work with partners and conduct our impact measurement and management programs. And they're mainly catered to now social enterprises, SMEs, and startups. Yeah. And so generally businesses in Africa are actually very receptive in learning about our tools here in Africa, the B-Impact Assessment and the SDG Action Manager, so that they can assist them in starting their journey towards, creating sustainability, talking about impact. How do you, communicate your impact, and then share this information with mainly your external stakeholders. So for this particular engagement with Strathmore University and Absa Bank, we were actually creating awareness about our tool, the SDG Action Manager, the tool that companies can now use to align themselves to the SDGs. And to respond to Mumbi's question about the applicability of the SDG Action Manager. So one of the things that we realized is, the SDGs are 17 in total, and most of these SMEs or startups usually wonder, do I need to work on all of these SDGs? There's so many. I'm a small organization. I have limited capacity, resources on being able to embed SDGs. So one of the things we tell them is you really don't need to work on all of them. You just need to look at 1 to 5 that actually are part of your strategy, and you're actually working on them on a day-to-day basis, right? If it's only 1, it is okay. You really don't need to work on all the 17 of them. So we always recommend just start with 1, do it really well. And in fact, maximum 5 should be what you're aiming towards working towards and being able to use the SDG Action Manager to be able to work on improving on them, and also communicating the impact that you're creating to especially all your stakeholders. And the second thing we also tell them, because a lot of them, as Mumbi had alluded, is that they do think that, the SDGs is something for, big corporates, as Jane had mentioned, right? So it's also just to remind them that, what the SDG Action Manager was not tailored only for the big corporates, is actually for any organization, depending on, how big you are, what stage you are in terms of growth and sustainability. It will actually assist you in getting your starting point and which SDGs are actually you are aligned to. So it's just also reminding them that this is not a conversation for big corporates that have a lot of money. Anybody can actually start on this journey, yeah? And again, the tool is free. It's a free assessment. So we also tell them that, because that's one of the questions that I'm asked a lot. Is this something that I also need to spend resources on, right? And then one of the things that they also would really want is a tool that would help them now communicate their impact externally. So it's something that we really want to work on, because they are really looking for a tool that would help them be able to, communicate their impact to especially their external stakeholders, their customers, or even funders that they're trying, to show them, hey, this is what we're trying to create, and are we able to get funding because of this? So just showing them how can you be able to communicate that impact. And unfortunately, the SDG Action Manager is for internal reporting, but how do you, once you know where you guys stack up in terms of an SDG, how do you now translate that to communicating that information on your website, right? But most of, again, as with partners with Strathmore and APSA, a lot of companies are actually very receptive to these tools, because the beauty about it is, there's the theory that, Mumbi has talked about that they have done, but now this tool will be able to now bring it home, being able to now practically and theoretically, how do you apply it in my business? How do I get a team in my business to actually be able to work on embedding or aligning my business to this SDGs? So B-Lab is actually very proud to be working with APSA and Strathmore University. As I had mentioned earlier, one of our strategies here is to work with like-minded businesses and who will be able to, will be able to now create that awareness that we want to create in Africa, that there is a better way of doing business. Business can really be a force for good, where, you're not only looking at or thinking about your shareholders, but you're looking at the impact that you're creating, both positive and negative, to all your stakeholders. So thank you so much, Mumbi.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I know we are short on time, so I'll just ask Jane to say one line about the value of the partnership between the three, organizations, and then we could stop there. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mumbi. I'll try and keep it to one line. I think for us as a corporate institution, looking at the importance of the value chain, the partnership and collaboration really helped us, because then when we bring in the academics, then they are able to handle the actual training and demystifying this whole sustainability agenda to the SMEs in a way that they would understand, and in a way that they can be able to practically start applying it to the organization. Again, bringing in B-Lab was really great, because monitoring and reporting is quite critical. If you don't monitor your progress, if you don't show, if you don't look at the impact that you're creating, then you're not able to know where your baseline is, where you want to move to, and what progress you're making each and every year or quarterly, the milestones really. And so, and of course, bringing in the internships again from the school, which helps us not only create value for the young students who can be able to start thinking and having the lens of sustainability as they join the world of work, but it also helps our SMEs to kind of get extra capacity and resources to help them in implementing the whole sustainability agenda. So it's really been a great collaboration, and we've really seen positive impact from our suppliers. I think as of today, Mumbi, we officially have 200 SMEs who have graduated with the last cohort, which finished I think yesterday or today. And so we hope to be able to scale that up to our SMEs and be able to impact more and create more value within the value chain. Because if we don't bring along the value chain, then the impact for us as a single organization will not be so much. I know it's more than one line, but thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Jane. And back to you, Veronica. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mumbi, Jane, and Lucy. It's really great you have shared with us your experience. And we have to move now to the next experience with Miles Weaver and Hawk Tab. They are both from Edinburgh Napier University Business School. And maybe if you have any question about what Mumbi and Jane and Lucy were talking about, again, you can put it in the chat. But now we are going to learn about the Cities Can Be movement and the experience of Miles and Hawk about being involved in Edinburgh Can Be. So, Miles.
Great. So you said this is going to be an experience. Let's see. Now, can you see the right screen now? Can you see the full screen of the blue or the green?
Well,
Miles, we can see both the green and the next slide. So like
Okay,
the presenter
so I
view.
need to, this is, how about that? Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Good. That always happens. So thank you ever so much for allowing us to join your conference today and speak and listen to everybody else too. And I'm sure we're stuck in between breakfast or dinner or lunch, whoever you are in the world. But want to talk to you about the Cities Can Be movement and the progress that we've been making here in Edinburgh on the Edinburgh Can Be project. And I'm joined with my colleague, Dr. Hawk Tan. We're both from Edinburgh Napier University Business School. So, first of all, we'll talk a little bit about sustainability. I know that we've done this a little bit and frame it as the ultimate wicked problem, but add a little dimension to that and think about how we can bring about more impact through place-based approaches, through cities. Ban Ki-moon said that if we are going to make if we're going to address global sustainability, it'll be won or lost in our cities. How do we bring people together in those places to maximize output? Learn a bit about the Cities Can Be movement and a little bit about our research. We're academics, of course, and we're doing research into cross-sector collaboration in order to achieve these goals. So we've already talked a lot about purpose, and we've talked obviously about the SDGs, and these are the SDG pillars. And what I'm going to add here is place, the importance of place. And what we have here in Edinburgh is a collection of local government, the Scottish Government, the Chamber of Commerce, businesses, citizens, all working together to bring about a city for everybody. So we're taking a place-based approach. What we're trying to do in terms of our research is we've taken a community operational research approach, which is about bringing about a meaningful engagement in the relationships with business and those with communities to connect and align those business and societal goals, that purpose beyond profit that we've been talking about, and bringing about a wider impact into our communities, our social and environmental and economic impact. So bringing about a meaningful engagement with and between these business and communities to co-create purposeful action. We're also taking a theory U approach, looking at how we can connect, someone was talking earlier about values, individual values with those within organizations, relational values, and connecting them to the community, our places, moving from, as Otto Scharmer talks about, ego to ecosystems. So that's what we're trying to do. So Cities Can Be has given us a wonderful opportunity to do research in the areas that we're interested in, and also to make an impact in the city by being a partner, as a university is extremely important in a stakeholder in a city, and of course, work of all these wonderful people. So I'm going to hand over to Leo on a video at the moment, who will outline the Cities Can Be a movement, and hopefully you'll be able to hear this.
Hi, my name is Leonardo Maldonado. I live in Santiago, Chile, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about Cities Can Be, which is an initiative that I lead. Cities Can Be is a joint venture between Sistema B, which is the foundation that promotes the B Corps all over Latin America, and Gulliver, a company that I lead, which is an innovation agency. Cities Can Be, Sistema B has been working since 2012 all over Latin America as a strategic partner of B-Lab. And Gulliver, since 2007, has been articulating entrepreneurship ecosystems all over Latin America. That meant that when we started, we already had 25 cities where we were working and 15 countries where we were working. That made this idea of crowdsourcing the SDGs through cities possible for us. Now, why are we thinking about cities? Because we're sure that it's where cities where the fight is going to be. I think coronavirus has made that very clear for us. The health issues are city by city. The wealth issues are city by cities. The job issues is city by city. This is where we need to be having the conversation. Right now, we are working in Santiago, Rio, Asunción, Córdoba, and Mendoza in Latin America. We are in Barcelona and opening in Edinburgh. The whole idea is that the SDGs are the grand challenges of humanity, and we actually only have some governments, the UN, and some companies working at it. We need everybody to pitch in, or else we're not going to make it. The idea is by 2030 to reach these goals. And at the speed we're heading right now, we're not going to make it. And so what we have invented in Cities Can Be is a way of doing something we call extreme collaboration, and which is getting everybody to participate and collaborate in accelerating these goals. So let me tell you what we've been doing. The basic idea is that you need, of course, government, private sector, and civic society to participate and to collaborate. So what we did with civic society is, first of all, if we manage to get them to collaborate, then we can get everybody in the city to assume responsibility for our own impact. If we assume that we have a footprint, not only in carbon, but in every dimension of the SDGs, then we can measure that and we can take care of that. And if we assume that gender equality is not a problem for the governments, but it's a problem for everybody, and we all need to take part of that, then we can advance this agenda much easier, much faster. So basically what we're saying is, with civic society, we're developing something we call Be Entrepreneurs, which is a tribe of young people learning to build companies with triple bottom line, B companies, to improve the quality of the world and make business at the same time. This is something that we're not rolling out yet worldwide because it's on a beta, on a pilot process. We've been at it for 3 years. We think that in 1 more year, we should be ready to roll it out worldwide. With the companies, we're working with something called the SDG Action Manager, which is an alliance between B-Lab and the UN to Global Compact to build a tool that could measure the impact of each company in all 17 SDGs. What we do is we help companies to use this and to improve what they're doing. Now, the core of what we do is getting government, private sector, and civic society to work together in things that we call massive initiatives of collective impact. What are those? The idea is that if we can find a way to allow thousands or even millions of people to participate, then we really can accelerate this. Things like Fridays for the Future or Me Too have shown that we can get millions of people to actually work for a cause and advance that cause. And that would allow us really to produce a bigger impact. What we're saying is it's not only about measuring what a company does, but it's getting millions of conscious consumers to actually know what impact those companies are producing. If we have conscious consumers, then business as a force for good is not a nice word anymore. It's something we can do. So let me give you an example of how we.
Okay, so thank you, Leo, for that. And that video continues to talk about the work of Cities Can Be in San Diego. If I can bring it now to talk about how we're progressing here in Edinburgh, you can see from that diagram on the left-hand side, one of the great wins that would be great to get out of this conversation would be another city to say, hey, we want to join Edinburgh Cities Can Be movement, and we can help you do that, and other people across the movement can do that. So in Edinburgh, we've come together, local government, the City Council. In fact, the City Council have given us £50,000 to kickstart our initiative. They've done that in the last month or so. How we engage with our citizens through what Leo was talking about, the Be Entrepreneurs, and private companies using the SDG Action Manager that's been mentioned a few times today. And we've created a MOOC, a city level MOOC for that, which we will describe in a moment. And moving towards these mass initiatives of collective impact. Now, I often think we haven't made much progress in the last year because of the pandemic. However, we have had COP26 in our sister city, the big city of Scotland being Glasgow, and we've done lots and lots of work bringing about initiatives in Edinburgh and Scotland around the net zero debate, agenda. So you can see here that there are a number of cities and Cities Can Be, and hopefully this movement can grow. And hopefully through the conversations we have today, we might find some opportunities for it to grow. Hock, would you like to come in at this point and talk a little bit about Cities Can Be and how we came about?
Yes. Can you hear me, folks?
Totally.
Oh, lovely. First of all, I just want to start off by saying how inspired I am by what I've listened, to all the previous speakers, how resourceful they've been, how innovative they've been. And I think I found my tribe here, and I would love to have some of those lovely chocolate and have some lovely Kenyan tea and so on. But yes, Miles, I just want to add a few things to what you were saying just now, is that through the Cities Can Be movement, what we are trying to do is at a tree level, basically, we are trying to effect change at a structural level, right? And to do that, we need to understand that the whole sustainability challenge is a wicked problem. It's a very complex problem, right? And to see that we are as much part of the problem and part of the solution as well. That's the question I constantly ask in our class. Are businesses part of the problem or are they part of the solution? We are probably both, right? And to do that, we need to understand that it is a structural issue, right? And move away from a kind of reductionist approach, kind of a mechanistic approach to a more holistic, systemic approach. And the Cities Can allow us to do that. And the second level we need to move to is a paradigm change, the change of a mental shift, which is really, really difficult, right? Speaking from one who has been through business school in the 80s, the time of Thatcher and Reagan, the purpose of business is business and profit-driven and competitiveness. And having this paradigm shift is really, really difficult. And so we're going to work at that level too in the city. And the third one is what we've been talking about a lot today, the idea of purpose, meaning, and values, is to go into the source of our being, to tap into the source of our being to motivate us to make this world a better place, is to believe that human beings are social beings. Human beings do not just compete, but we love to collaborate. And that can be a source of happiness for us. And research has shown this, right? It's not survival of the fittest, but the survival of the most, if you like, adaptable, survival of the most, people who are able to evolve and change, right? And I think for us, cities can be movement is a great movement for us. It's an experiment, but it's a great movement for us, right? Starting it was very, very difficult, very, very challenging. We had a big launch, and then when COVID hit, oh my goodness, everyone, we just didn't know what to do. So for about 12 to 14 months, we were in a doldrum, and then the lockdown eased, and that's us rebuilding and picking up the pieces again and putting them together, right? So from our part, we have designed the MOOC, right? And cities can be too. They have their own program of activities that will dovetail into what we are doing. And at the same time, we have Scotland Can Be, which has designed a Be Impact journey as well, right? Which is a face-to-face delivery. MOOC will be a virtual delivery. They can roll in, roll off anytime they like, it's free, right? And then you have delivery at the city level, right? So that's where we have gone to in about 2.5, 3 years, Miles. It's been a long journey for us. Over to you, Miles.
It has been a long journey. So where we got to is talking about a city for everybody. And as Hock mentioned, the City Council don't own the net zero agenda. The Chamber of Commerce don't own the circular economy agenda. The universities don't own the agenda. We need a conduit in the middle that brings people together and connects people. And that is what we're doing. We are there to act as that conduit to bring people together. Now, Edinburgh, you may have visited Edinburgh and you might have seen our beautiful castle and Hogmanay that's coming up. I'm English, but it's a very beautiful city to live in. But there's deprivation, there is poverty, everything, all the SDGs we need to work towards in Edinburgh. The tourists might see one part of it and we all see another part too. And that's the same in all cities, isn't it, really? So a city for everybody, one that's not just for tourists, and one's for the people who live in the city centre and that type of thing. So we've come to, that's our purpose. And how do we bring people together, gather people to create these extreme collaborations, these mass initiatives of collective impact, and make sure that the responsibility and net zero responsibility is everybody's, take it to the doorstep. And we have a can-do culture. People come and they bring and they pitch in and they go, right, I want to help there. And we follow the energy. And if the energy is net zero or it's to do with the circular economy, then we follow that energy and we allow those conversations to happen. And we, of course, work towards the vision of the city. So as Hock said, I will briefly mention this because Hock explained this. We have created a MOOC, which I hope other cities will use and adopt because we've created it. We've got Scottish government funding to do this. And we would love other cities like Barcelona to embrace this and other cities too. And that's using the SDG Action Manager as well as other tools such as carbon calculators and the like through a journey making approach, which looks like this. We're academics, so I can scare you a little bit. Of course, it's complicated. And one of the reasons when I showed the SDGs, and I think Lucy mentioned this, when we talk about the SDGs to businesses, they go, too many, I'm lost, I'm scared. When we talk to the housing and construction and infrastructure community, they talk about responsible consumption as circular economy. They get it, right? They get it. So if we introduce the whole SDGs and we've got to work towards the SDGs, we get a little bit lost. So making sense in terms of what Lucy was saying, in terms of what SDGs should be working on. So purpose, how do we embody purpose? Make an SDG, get an SDG outline, a baseline using the SDG Action Manager, that commitment to our footprint, adopt and look and do a deep dive in one of the other SDGs, and of course take action, and through the Cities Can Be movement, amplify that impact through cross-sector collaborations. So this is our methodology, and this is how we move through it, and we understand that different sectors, different geographical areas, people will use different tools. We're working with EFQM, and they have got an SDG lens, and they've got a circular economy lens, and we know that many organisations like the NHS might be more comfortable with that. Companies that are interested in becoming B Corps will be more interested in using the B Impact Assessment and maybe using the SDG Impact Manager, and then moving into the BIA Impact Management. And we're creating these paths. We're trying to identify what paths different people can go through, generic, so that we can maximize impact in cities. So we hope that other people will want to embrace this MOOC, and we'll help make it available for others and work with others. That's what we want to do. We want to bring about more impact. And of course, connecting those values, individual, community, and relational too. So this is our last slide. So this has given us a wonderful vehicle opportunity to do our research, which is around cross-sector collaboration, with the importance of place, bringing people together in cities. How do we build cross-sector collaborations in cities? Like I said a moment ago, the council do not own the agenda. The government do not own the agenda. Royal Bank of Scotland, which is probably one of our biggest organisations, do not own the agenda, nor does the National Health Service or Napier University compared to Edinburgh University or Heriot-Watt University. We have to come together, and we have to follow that energy in the room. And that's why we're talking about this really, really important word, which comes from the community operational research. And we contributed to the special issue in the European Journal of Operational Research 2 years ago around meaningful engagement. How do we bring about meaningful engagement to co-create purposeful action so that we can attain and accelerate our progress to the goals? So this is what we want to achieve. Help organizations to accelerate the progress towards the SDGs. And of course, completely embedded across that is our footprint, our ultimate wicked problem. What we haven't really talked about, but it was a presentation that we gave at the Operational Research Conference a couple of months ago, is around purpose. And we're finding it difficult to create processes, methodologies, tools that help organizations to adopt their purpose. And we see one of the great opportunities of the B Corp community through governance, through embedding the raison d'etre. The French have legislated on this, the raison d'etre, the purpose, into their governing documents. Now, if you want to get me really, really excited, I can talk about all the stuff we've done already, but get me going on governing documents. I love a good governing document. If we can open up a governing document, whether it's whatever organization it may be, and the raison d'etre, their purpose, is not about profit making, maximizing profit for stakeholders, for shareholders, but we can make that a wider impact and change the wider impact of the duties of directors and impact reporting. If we can embody those three things into governing documents, I think we can change the world. They are an academic trying to change the world again. And the French government have legislated on that. And I know that companies out in London have started to encourage private sector businesses to do those three things. But that's another presentation. And of course, to build those partnerships, because underpinning all our SDGs is climate action. And of course, maximizing and amplifying our action is through partnership working. And that is what we're doing, bringing about meaningful engagement with and between business and communities to co-create purposeful action. Thank you, guys. Unless Hock wants anything to say.
No, Miles, I think you put it across beautifully. And that remains our dream, our vision. We shall report back when we meet again. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
So much. Thank you so much, Miles and Hock. It was really great to hear everything you shared with us. And I know we are very, very late, but I need to ask for Miles, Hock, Mumbi, what's the value of participating in this kind of collaborations as academics?
As academics? Oh, okay. Well, there's two. You could have answered that question different ways than when you said as academics. We're doers. Hock and I are doers. We are not fantastic researchers. Yes, we publish, but we don't publish like some other people in this room. we get on with it and go into the city. So I see myself as an academic on a bicycle. So I'm always biking around the city, talking to all the different organizations, bringing connections and using our academic rigor to create tools, methods, bring together the party. And also a university is a fantastic conduit because no one argues really with a university compared to different organizations. So we are at the table. So we are part of the governance table of Cities Can Be in Edinburgh, but also we get the value of doing our research around that and engaging organizations. And the MOOC that we are creating and just about to launch in January will be embedded into our module. So the students will go off and do that and their assignment using our MOOC, and the assignment will be based around that and Edinburgh-based businesses. And then we can sit back a couple of weeks as well.
Lovely. I just want to add a bit to what Miles was saying. As an academic, I'm more interested in impact, how it impacts the lives of people, the community, my students. You know, it's not the knowing and the doing, it's the being, right? And that has been my inspiration. You know, how can I impact and touch the lives of people? I think that's okay. I am an academic at the same time, but I use it for that purpose. By the way, I don't cycle around. I probably walk around and pitch up tents every now and then. Thank you. Over to you.
We're right in the thick of it, we like to think. And if we've got time to write it up, we'll try.
Mumbi.
Thanks, Veronica. And I barely have anything else to add. I think it's just that for us, we see the problems, we see the challenges, and we want that impact. We want it urgently. And we realize our articles are read by maximum 10 people, 15 people who you cite each other. So when you have this opportunity to bring it to on the ground, as we say here, then you grab it with both hands, because you really want this agenda to be understood, to be embedded, to be emphasized on. And for us now, specifically in this program, SMEs are the engine of our growth. So anything that's going to go towards, you know, making sustainability known and prioritized by them, then we're up for it. We don't need publications for that, even though we will still publish, but in tandem with the, you know, the impact we want to make.
Thank you so much, Mumbi. There is one question to Miles and Hawk in the chat. Summer, do you want to? It's your question.
No, it's not from me. It was from
Tourism.
Josie.
Yeah, it was from me.
Tourism. It's a very good question. We have got funding for housing construction. That's been identified as a priority. Of course, tourism in Edinburgh is obviously our most important, and we have had lots of conversations with the festivals. But we do. Is this still being recorded, Veronica? They don't get past paper cups at the moment. And the other comment we get is the Science Festival. The Science Festival will start it off. The Science Festival will be the first sustainable festival. And we're like, no, sometimes we need to move away from plastic cups, bins and things like that to who's your energy supplier, who are your pensions with, you know, all the big ticket items. And people miss that. Yes, we will be engaging the tourism organizations in it. But one of the other challenges we have is there's quite a lot of green tourism awards. So there's a lot of hotels who have got the Gold Tourism Award. So there are sector-specific sustainability awards that they would say that they've been doing for a long time. But we will try and engage them as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Josie, for your question. So now it's time to end this session. So thank you so much for everybody that is participating in this event. Maria, it's your turn.
Yes, I take the word now, and what a fantastic conversation. This event truly speaks to our core mission as an organization and the strength of this global network. As you guys have witnessed today, we're here to share, challenge, and deepen our understanding of business as a force for good. So thank you, Veronica, and all the Global Engagement Committee for organizing a thought-provoking, inspiring session. I hear the word inspiring through the chat. And as a membership chair, I would love to close with a call for engagement. If you aren't a member, please join us. But more importantly, we have a lot of members in the room. Get engaged. We are in the process of planning our 2022 events and activities. So it's a great time to bring your ideas and energy, because we are all about meaningful engagement, if I can just copy Miles. So we have a strong events committee, communication, membership, research committee, a teaching committee, a student engagement, of course, a financial committee, and this fantastic global committee that organized this event. So thank you for joining us today. We hope to hear from you and continue the conversation in our fora. Happy grading, holidays, and the best for 2022, which hopefully is a healthy one. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.